Hi everyone, my name is Emma O'Brien, and for this week's HCTV episode, we're doing a roommate Q&A with Hannah and Maggie.
Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm a junior this year in the Honors College, and this is my roommate.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm also a junior in the Honors College.
So, how did you guys first meet?
So we met on the Honors College Class of 2022 Facebook page. We posted a couple pictures of ourselves and then wrote a short description about what we were majoring in, what we were interested in. Those kind of things, and then I found Maggie's post and sent her a message, so that's how we first started talking.
Yes, Hannah was the first person to message me, and it ended up working out great.
So what were your first impressions of each other?
So I think that my first impression of Maggie when I first saw her Facebook post was that we had similar interests. We both cared a lot about academics, which was important to me. And then we also really both enjoyed going to sporting events, which was something I was really looking forward to. Can you think of anything else that...
No, and then we met each other in person during an academic day, and then we just kind of hit it off from there. But we met about 1 or 2 times right before we moved in, but our first impressions of each other were largely whenever we first moved into Gateway.
So what were you looking for in a roommate, and how did you kind of decide Maggie or Hannah was the one?
Well, Hannah was the first person to message me, but I went and looked at her Facebook page, and it seemed, like she said earlier, that we were very similar and had similar interests, not only academically, but outside of school as well, and it seemed like we really hit it off. We started Facebook messaging and then texting after that, and it just flowed really easily, and then the same thing happened whenever we moved in together. It was a little bit awkward at first, which you can all expect. You're living with someone that you've never really met before, so it can be awkward in the beginning, but we adjusted very quickly to living with each other, and we still live together now. So
how did you guys decide who was going to bring what for the dorm?
So a lot of us, or Maggie and I, had talked about what we had asked for graduation gifts and for Christmas, things like that. So I in particular had a Keurig that I had already, and Maggie and I both really like coffee, so that was really important that we had one of those. And so I volunteered to bring that, and it just kind of went from there. We each wrote out a list of what we had, and then we kind of compared to make sure we didn't have 2 of anything. So it did work out really well that way.
I recommend making a list of things that you already have and that you intend on bringing, and then kind of comparing that with your roommate, and then the things that you know that you want to bring, talking about who's going to bring what. I would not recommend splitting the cost of things down the middle. I think that one person or the other should bring it, because at the end of the year, at the end of the time you live together, it's a lot easier to divide your stuff if it's one person's and not the other's. And you can share once you get there.
So what are some dorm essentials that you think everyone should have?
So Maggie and I both bought a set of cubes to put under our bed, and we put our bed on risers, which risers are also really good to have if you don't want to loft your bed necessarily, but you want it to be higher off the ground than just on the floor. So we fit the cubes under our bed, and it was really good for storage and having our things out of the way, like our clothes and things like that, and we would put snacks under there. It was really nice to just have something like a drawer that we could just pull out and all of our stuff would be there.
I also brought a TV, and that ended up, we didn't know if we were going to use that at all whenever I first brought it. I was like, I can bring it back home whenever I leave, if we don't end up using it, but we ended up watching a lot of things together, and that was something that we like to do to kind of unwind, was to watch the same TV shows or different movies and things like that. You can actually look up a picture of Hannah and I's dorm room by Googling our names and then ECU dorms. You can see a picture of how we utilize storage in Gateway. Moving into a dorm room and sharing that space with someone else can be kind of difficult to figure out where you're going to put everything. So if you're interested in seeing how we did that and how we utilized different storage options, you can look that page up on ECU's Campus Living website.
How did you guys handle conflicts that might have come up?
So we actually really dealt with only like one time where it was a conflict that actually like kind of came between us a little bit, but that particular time we ended up realizing that we were frustrated with each other, and I think one of us texted the other and just kind of said, hey, this is what's going on and this is where my frustrations are, and then the other person shared theirs, and then we agreed to meet up at Chick-fil-A and we talked it over, and after that everything was fine. But you have to handle conflict for sure, because you're living in a small space with that person, and if you're not getting along, then that's going to boil over eventually. So definitely handle conflict as soon as it comes up with your roommate.
Definitely. You need to address the conflict immediately and kind of get to the root of the problem. You can't really bottle up all of those aggressions towards one another, because you are sharing such a small space. You really have to get all of that out. So communicating that with one another in a healthy way is really important, and I think Hannah and I have done a really good job of communicating with one another. And that one fight didn't come between us. I mean, it was a long time ago, and it made us stronger.
So what are some of your favorite parts of Gateway?
I love Gateway. If you've heard me talk about it in an academic day, you know that I am the biggest fan of Gateway. The biggest thing I think is the high ceilings. They make the rooms look so much bigger, and then if you loft your bed, which you can do through ECU, you can stand on top of your bed and still not hit your head, which is incredible. It makes the room feel a lot bigger, even for a dorm room. And then also, we lived in a hall style room, so a lot of the rooms are hall style in Gateway, and I had zero problems with that. I never had to wait for anything, and the hall style bathrooms are cleaned every day by the wonderful staff of Gateway. They're amazing. They're all so nice, and sometimes they sing whenever they clean, which is so fun. And so I never had a problem with the cleanliness of the halls or the bathroom or even the study rooms, which are also a huge plus.
And on our particular floor, it was mostly honor students, so we actually met a lot of our friends on our hall, which was nice to have a lot of other honor students to kind of get to know people in our class who were also freshmen. So that was nice as well, having friends that were close by.
So how did you guys make friends freshman year?
So our first day living in Gateway, we actually knocked on the doors of the people who lived around us, which sounds so crazy that we did that now. But we knocked on the doors of all of our neighbors and introduced ourselves, which I think was something that was kind of nerve-wracking them, but ended up being really beneficial for us in the end. We also met a lot of people through our RA and through our hall meetings and things like that. But our next door neighbors in Gateway actually ended up being some of our best friends. Even now, all four of us have remained really close friends, and I don't even know if we would have met each other had we not lived next to one another. So I definitely recommend meeting the people who live around you and getting to know them. I think that they can turn into some of your best friends, not to mention that you're also in class with them through your honors classes.
So you kind of touched on it a little, but I know transitioning to college can kind of be stressful. So how did you manage that, and how do you relieve stress after a long day or adjustments or a busy class schedule?
So like we talked about earlier, we would watch a lot of movies. That was something that helped us unwind a lot. I think we both did exercise classes sometimes, so that was something that was helpful, was having the gym. There is a gym on College Hill that was accessible for us, and then we could always walk to the rec center or take the bus to go take a fitness class, which was helpful. I think those were the two main things that we did to really de-stress after anything that was going on, or the transition in general. And also having Maggie there to talk about things, like talking things out with your roommate, is helpful too if you're going through a lot.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode of our roommate Q&A, and thank you for joining us, Hannah and Maggie. Tune in next week for the next episode of HCTV.